Welcome, everybody, to the Making Awesome podcast, Season 3, Episode 38, where we're going to be talking all about sustainability in the 3D printing industry. But, we couldn't do this one alone. We have a special guest today, Vlad, who's going to be talking all about sustainability, specifically in 3D printing. So, Vladimir, can you give us the Backstreet Boys, the who you are, the where you're from, the what you did, and as long as you love me.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Greetings from the Czech Republic, and thank you for the invitation. I was just chatting with Grant now, is it really gonna interest people to talk about sustainability, not about 3D printing as such? And he assured me that some of you might be interested in this one. So, my name is Vladimír. I'm responsible for sustainability agenda in Prusa Research for some year and a half. And today we would like to talk about actually why we decided to focus on this topic, why is it important for us. And the idea is we go to the sustainability report and we explain how we approach the topic, what's there. We are ready to answer, or I'm ready to answer your questions. So please, if you're curious, ask.
Yes, and, of course, we are streaming live to YouTube right now, so if you do have any questions that you would like to ask myself or Vladimir, you can put them in the live chat, so please go ahead. We have some awesome people here hanging out. We got Ben Cox, Mad Cat USA, Allison Ford, Filament Stories, Mike from Never Let the Machines Win, Ajax, Jelly Mob 267, OMG Frankie, and Worse Peter are all here hanging out with us. Thank you guys for showing up. We're going to have a lot of fun in this one. And I think before we go too deep, I think it's best that we talk about what exactly is sustainability, right? It's a word that we hear, we might see it in the news, but what is actually sustainability? Like, what does it mean?
Yeah, a lot of people struggle with this word, and when we mention sustainability, a lot of us imagine environment, protecting the environment, and that's one part of it. Nowadays, it's most often described under the abbreviation ESG, where E stands for environment, and it's about looking at what's the environmental impact of the company by doing their business and stuff like that. Then S, it's social. So sustainability has quite a strong social aspect. It means how you treat your employees, how honest are you with your customers, what products you deliver to them, but also supply chain, where do you produce and at what conditions. And G is governance. It's whole how the company is run, the ethical aspects of that. So that's in a nutshell how the topic can be described. And if it's handled properly within the company, it really goes to the whole value chain. It's not about company as such, your building and what you do, but it's about from where you take and you supply to what happens with the product when it finishes its lifespan. So it's really complex and goes through the whole value chain.
Okay, and so it does go beyond than just the business. We look at also on the consumer side as well. So a lot of people here have 3D printers. They, might utilize them, and we talk about 3D printing as additive manufacturing, where you have significantly less waste. Mm-hmm. But the big problem with 3D printing is that subtractive manufacturing doesn't normally have, is that the waste material is not easily recyclable. In subtractive, that's CNC milling, right? Or laser cutting or something like that. The waste material is generally at least mostly recyclable, whether you need to add raw material into it or it is just infinitely recyclable. With 3D printing, unless you're talking about some of the styrene-based plastics or polystyrene's also styrene-based, most of the other plastics are not easily recyclable, especially with municipal sources. So how does this impact the average everyday person when it comes to sustainability as well? Like, what is our duty here to help this process?
Maybe I will start with what you started with was that if 3D printing is sustainable technology or not, right? There is no answer yes or no. It always depends. You mentioned you can produce stuff with much less waste because you add and things like that. you can produce cool stuff like fix things. You can save life of some stuff that would be destined to go to the landfill because you don't have a spare part for that. On the other hand, additive manufacturing is quite energy efficient. No, not energy efficient. It's energy demanding.
Yeah, it's energy inefficient.
It takes some actually energy to process. I don't know, the filaments and things like that. So there is no answer yes or no. But for example, I don't know if you guys know, there is an additive manufacturer green trade association, which is association of companies that are actually looking at benefits of 3D printing, and we are a member. And they started doing some calculations on where additive manufacturing makes sense or doesn't make sense. So if you are interested in more detail, go to amgta.org and you will find more information there. Regarding the waste, I think you name it well. What we did in Prusa recently or some year ago, PLA, it's widely described as biodegradable material. It is biodegradable material, but only in certain conditions. In the real life, you never make them happen.
No.
You can start with that if you don't need the product or whatever it is, you don't actually know it's PLA. Sometimes you think it's classic plastic. You have no infrastructure to collect it and things like that. So in reality, most of the PLA never biodegrades, and it's ends up on landfill or incineration or whatever. So we actually stopped labeling PLA as a biodegradable material because we thought it was a greenwashing, right?
Yep.
We did something similar with Prusa spools. The Prusa spools are made of recycled polycarbonate. Same story. Technically, it's recyclable. In practice, it doesn't happen that much. So we basically took the communication down that it's fully recyclable because we thought it was misleading.
A lot of companies have addressed specifically the spools, because the spools to me are the big problem that we have. It's the plastic spools. And a lot of companies have addressed it by going to cardboard spools, but these cardboard spools have glue on them, and the glue can't be recycled. So often, unless you are tearing off the part of the cardboard that has glue on it and then recycling the rest of it, that entire thing gets thrown into a landfill. Now, it will biodegrade because it's cardboard, but it's still not a perfect solution. I feel like this is a good addressing of the problem, but it doesn't really solve it because the cardboard still takes, a fair bit of energy to produce. It is way more machinery intensive to produce cardboard than it is to produce a, flat injection mold like the side of the Prusa spool. And that's why companies weren't using cardboard. It is more expensive for the companies to use cardboard. And it seems as though a lot of these green initiatives often end up costing companies a lot more money. Is that correct?
I found it in Czech Republic in an organization called No Greenwashing.
Yes.
And we actually put together scientists, people from the universities, people who understand some particular problem, and we try to educate ourselves and the companies about what is sustainable and what is not sustainable. Because sometimes a company makes a change and thinks doesn't have data to support it's good or not, but does it in a good will, and then ends up in actually greenwashing because it doesn't make sense from environmental point of view. So that's also what we are trying to do in Prusa. If we do some change, we always try to calculate it, discuss with experts, so we make the right decision. So yeah, you named it well. Like many of the green solutions today can cost us a lot of money and be completely inefficient because we didn't invest energy in actually calculating, understanding the bigger context of the problem.
So can we describe what greenwashing is? Because I think it's important for us to understand what it is to greenwash something, so that as we do, because it is happening all around us, but if we don't know what it is, we're not educated enough to see it right? We know it's occurring, but we don't understand where it's occurring or why. So can we
Yeah.
talk about what greenwashing is?
One of the definitions of the greenwashing can be that it's misleading customer in a way that you position your product, your service, or the whole company more green or greener than it actually is. A lot of time we say that companies do it on purpose, but I don't think that a lot of companies do it on purpose. It's the other thing. They do it because they don't know. They don't know the problem. A few years ago in European Union, we had a ban on single-use plastics. So plastic straw and plastic cup became enemy of of the environment,
Yeah.
and companies starting in panic replacing it with miraculous materials like PLA and stuff like that.
CPLA. Yep. It
In
it, it
in
started to
in,
become big out here.
in belief that problem is solved and that it will decompose, biodegrade. I read some statistics somewhere or some data that to produce 1 ton of PLA, you need to grow several tons of corn or something like this.
Wow.
So it's quite also resource intensive. So so this is greenwashing is becoming problem more and more. And European Commission did a survey. They scanned several hundred websites in Europe, and they came to conclusion that I think over 52% of the communication that was about sustainability was misleading or without any proof. And there is a legislation being prepared now in EU that will actually say when under what conditions you can claim something is more sustainable, because it became a jungle. If I don't know how it's in the US, but here if you go to shop or open newspapers or turn on the TV, everything is green, everything is sustainable, everything is
I thought everything in your world is orange.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Oh, that would be so funny for Prusa to just change their main color to green as part of the drive to be more green. They just change it to green instead of orange. That would be a great
Yeah.
April Fool's joke. And Joe, if you use that, I want to cut. Then I do want to then become an actual Prusa shill.
Yeah.
But so we work with a lot of food packaging companies. So a lot of single-use plastics, we help develop it. I'm sorry. They are trying. Look, it's a business that's going to happen no matter what, and I'm not going to turn the money away. I am trying to feed my family and the family of all of our staff as well. They are a lot going to this CPLA, which is crystallized PLA, and they're like, "Oh, it biodegrades." I said, "Have you tried it? Have you actually tried to see if it biodegrades? Because it doesn't." They're like, well, "How do you know?" I said, "Because I've been printing with PLA for basically a decade now, and it's not great." The thing that we have is so many people think that, oh, I can just take my filament scraps, grind them up, and recycle them. And in fact, Sun Turtle Camper in the comments is talking about recycling old PLA filament into new filament. How big of a machine does the end user need to make 1 kilogram or more per hour? And can it be done? And what would a machine like this cost? I actually have the answer for this because I tried doing this years ago. We used a Philistruder, which is about a $500 machine with the roller and all of that. It will do 1 kilogram of PLA every 48 hours. And with the high-speed printers we have nowadays, you can actually burn plastic faster. If you ran it as fast as it could go, you could get it every 24 hours. So if you wanted to do something that could do a kilo every hour, you're looking at the better part of $10,000 to $15,000 of expense. 3-phase 480 for your power, 3-phase at least 240 for your power, and you're going to need a container or a dedicated space to do this. It is an industrial line to do that kind of work. It is not, unfortunately, cheap. And as Sun Turtle Campus says, that don't work. That's right. It doesn't work. And it means that a lot of times we end up throwing away our scraps, whether that is PLA, PETG, ABS, ASA, whatever. And now with the advent of more machines that are single nozzle, multicolor, we have a lot of purge material. And I feel like you've seen this before, but the biggest complaint that we have when it comes to multicolor printing in the industry is that the purge blocks or the bamboo poop or whatever it is uses so much more material than the actual print that it all of a sudden doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you're throwing away so much plastic. And when you've got all these different colors, it's not all that easily recyclable. Is that correct?
Yes, I think so. Like the more material you mix and the more colors you add, then it makes the recycling harder. But I think the main problem is that at the end of the day, you don't actually know what the material is. Like, you know, like is it PLA? Is it PEG?
Right.
If you put it in the container and you mix it, nobody, you know, in the line is then able to recognize what it is. So that's, I think, one of the biggest, not biggest, but one of the obstacles for recycling is that not being able to identify what material it actually is.
And so prior to Prusa Research, you've done quite a bit. Obviously with your own company, No Greenwashing, but you were with IKEA as well working on sustainability. And I look at IKEA as being one of the most efficient companies out there with their ability to flat pack and get everything together. And so I had to laugh a little bit when I did research into you, and I'm like, oh, they're looking at reducing their packaging material. Boy, I wonder whose experience helped out with that. That just made me laugh. I said, you know, but that's so big because, yeah, okay, it was a 7% reduction over a year, and that might not sound like a lot, but when all the other companies that touch the product are greenwashing or not giving a damn about sustainability from the beginning, they end up causing a lot of damage. So if you can make it more efficient for them, in a sense, you're helping out everybody down the chain. Now, do you see that that is a big benefit where reducing that shipping weight has helped out in being a lot more green post Prusa, or has it been a minimal impact, do you think?
I honestly don't have data for this one.
That's fair.
And just to give credit to my colleagues, it wasn't, you know, me coming from IKEA to Prusa and saying we need to reduce packaging, but it's my colleagues who were already working hard on that. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, if you make the packaging smaller, you save money yourself as a company, right? You need to use less material, and then it's more efficient to transport. You know, you fit more stuff on the truck.
Yep.
So it's a nice win-win situation.
Here in the States, especially with UPS and FedEx, they have what is called a dim weight or a dimensional weight, where you pay based on the size of the box, not how much the box actually weighs. And if you can reduce the size of your box, you pay less in shipping, period. It doesn't matter if your box weighs the same. I mean, it's obviously going to lose a little bit of mass as you reduce the packaging by 7%, but it's going to reduce the cost of shipping considerably. And those, you know, little tiny improvements add up to being a big one down the road.
Yeah, agree.
Now, when you started this, to me, it's a white paper. Should I call it an orange paper? I feel like I should now call it an orange paper. This review of sustainability inside of Prusa Research, this was basically a year ago, or were you working on this longer?
I joined the company in September 2021. So that's when Joe made a decision. Hey, I want to focus on this topic more strategically. So let's do something about it. So yeah, that was almost 2 years ago. And how we started, we asked ourselves, right? We did an internal campaign where we introduced colleagues like what we mean by sustainability. And we basically asked, hey guys, what do you think we should start doing and what we should stop doing to be more sustainable company? So it was more than hundreds of ideas came through, and we summarized it and made some first draft of our strategy to actually see, hey, okay, here, this is where we see some potential. This is a low-hanging fruit we can solve right now, etc., etc. We spoke with our suppliers, very important area of very important stakeholder about sustainability, and we learned some interesting insights from them. that how we can maybe move it forward together, because many of the smaller companies, they have no resources or competence to even follow the sustainability agenda, etc., etc. So
Oh
that
yeah,
was
I reading through that report, I'm like, gosh, this is way more in depth than I expected, and that's not a bad thing. To be very clear, that is not a bad thing. I was excited, and I said, all right, I can't read through it too much because one, I want to utilize the article as my main data points for the video, but two, I actually want to experience some of these findings for the first time on the podcast where my reactions are not fake, right? I want people to
okay.
see that everything is real because I don't really know what it takes to do it right, but I have a feeling you do.
We're trying and we're learning on the way. But
Yeah.
what we did, we said, let's make it a dialogue. Let's make it a discussion. So that's why we consulted colleagues. That's why we consulted suppliers. We discussed it with experts in the area. So when we had some draft, I sent it to my network, to my sustainability network, to people from business, from nonprofits, from universities to give us a feedback. And then a year ago, we actually introduced the draft to the community, and we asked, hey guys, what do you think of that? Is it good enough? Are we missing something? Is there something you disagree with? So yeah, we take it as a process. We learn on the way, but from my opinion, it's good to always open it to all stakeholders who are involved in the process, because you never make a good strategy from the table in the office.
Well, it's also a team effort, right? If Prusa does everything that they can to be more sustainable, but their entire suppliers aren't doing a damn thing, that doesn't work. It doesn't work at all because you're doing what? And now your suppliers aren't doing anything. So really the initiatives start at the top, and lack of a better term, it trickles down into other companies, and if you're lucky, they start adopting some of the policies as well, right?
Yep.
Okay.
That's what we wanna do with the suppliers, like to educate them, help them with the process, and stuff like that.
So looking at 3D printing, right? We look at additive as being the most sustainable. Are there more processes out there for manufacturing, whether it's light manufacturing or heavy manufacturing, that tend to be more sustainable than additive?
I think this is what we touched briefly before, that
Yeah.
I think it always depends case by case. Yeah, you cannot say additive manufacturing it's more sustainable than old-fashioned manufacturing, but it would always depend on what you manufacture, from what material, what is the result, what energy you use. So I don't think there is an easy answer like this.
Okay.
It always it's unpopular. It takes time, but things need to be calculated, and so we understand the whole problematic based on numbers.
And it feels like it is more than just recyclability, right? It is looking at reducing carbon emissions effectively throughout the entire process, because I'm used to also working in some traditional manufacturing where everybody loves polystyrene.
Okay.
I hate polystyrene. Everyone in manufacturing loves it because it is 100% recyclable.
Okay.
It doesn't need any new stuff. You can infinitely recycle that terrible polystyrene foam that everybody hates over and over and over again indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
Manufacturing loves it because that makes that they have little to no waste. They can recycle their waste. But I'm like, well, wait a minute. Okay, I get that, but it's still styrene, which is oil. And the way that we get that is not really the greenest.
Yeah.
So is that an example of greenwashing, or is that kind of a lesser of two evils?
I mean, it's probably the way you communicate it. Like if you communicate something that is not so green as a super green, then it's a greenwashing. But it's important to say that we don't have, in many areas, we don't have quick solutions, quick wins to do something. So sometimes it's good to do maybe lesser evil, to transform to even lesser evil, right? So about your particular example, I don't know, because I'm not that much into the detail, but I think things should be always put into context and set on. Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea of clean coal, that is greenwashing.
Yes,
that's
definitely.
been a big thing. We're gonna go to clean coal. I don't think you understand how coal works, but there is no such thing as clean coal. I'm sorry, that's not how that works. And now, part of my initiative here at 3D Musketeers is we are looking to be off grid in the next 3 years. 100 run the entire company 100% off grid. Now, that's photovoltaic panels. We don't have great wind here in Florida unless it's during a hurricane, and that's not safe. You don't want to have a wind turbine when it's 200-kilometer-an-hour winds out there. You don't want that. That's dangerous. But photovoltaics also need oil. They're produced using oil, so it's like that to me is a lesser of two evils. It's better than using the current system, which for me locally is a coal burning power plant. I pay that price once for that oil, and those panels will last decades if they're well taken care of. So it seems to me that the environmental impact is better in that way. Does that make sense? Does that work?
There is a method called life cycle assessment, LCA, and you can basically compare, I don't know, two products or two processes really from cradle to grave, and you calculate what is the product made of, how it was transported, what energy was used when manufacturing it, how energy intensive it is when using it, etc., etc. If it can be, I don't know, recycled at the end of the day, and this is something what we did, for example, in Prusa, when we started recycling, producing our recycled filament. We have recycled PLA and recycled PETG, and it's made from our own waste. When we produce the original Prusa cement, we obviously have some waste, for example, the spools that don't meet the quality. And the guys said, hey guys, let's make a new filament, recycled one from that. And then we ask a question, well, we will burn some energy, to shred it and to produce a new one. We will use some water. How more sustainable it actually is, right? So we did this calculation, this life cycle assessment, to really look at the impact to make sure that we don't, do something that has 3% better impact than the original ones. And yeah, it has about 50% lower carbon footprint. Because
that's a big damn deal.
Because you don't need to obviously take virgin materials, but you use what already is a waste.
Yep.
So that's to your question. I think for every aspect like this, things need to be calculated, and it will be different for you in Florida and for me in the Czech Republic, because the energetic mix is different. Everything is different. So.
Yeah.
What may be more sustainable in one part of the world may not be more sustainable in another part of the world for certain under the certain conditions.
I mean, for reference, according to my weather station, it's saying it is 32 degrees centigrade and partly sunny with ambient humidity at 87%.
Nice.
It's a swap out here.
Yeah.
And so solar panels to me made the most sense, but we have to worry about high wind situations where we have to, keep the panels clean. So what was like the most surprising thing that you found when going through this entire life cycle assessment for, Prusa research?
You speak about life cycle assessment now, or about the report as such?
Well, the report in general, sorry.
Report in general. I would say that when we put the, let's say, agenda together, because we followed an international reporting standard that actually states what should be in this kind of report. It's not like that we said, hey, let's put here this and let's put here that. It's somehow we follow something like this. If you hear some background noise, I have a newborn baby here, so sorry for that. She cries every now and then.
Don't worry about it.
We realized that we do a lot of things already quite well, I think, right? quality. We are proud about our quality, and when we actually, look at the data and we said, hey, we are significantly reducing the warranty claims. It's amazing. We already had projects how to use 3D printing, to solve some social problems. We, for example, have a project in the Gambia where with the local guys, we produced some medical supplies that were before unavailable in the country. So there were a lot of stuff that we already did. What was hard for us was this life cycle assessment and calculating CO2 footprint of the company, because it's enormous data you need to get. So just, I don't want to bore you with that for too long, but we really need to weight every single item we produce the printer from to know how much it weighs. We contacted every supplier to ask how it travels to our factory, and if it's by plane, train, boat, stuff like that.
So it's a lot of research. It's not just internal. There's a lot of external research.
It was very, and I always make a joke. Well, maybe it's not a joke; it's reality that I'm not very popular in the company, right? We make 3D printers, and then some guy comes and, hey guys, so we need to weigh this one. We need to contact the suppliers. Why the hell I want to make 3D printers, right? No, so it was quite intensive, but I think it was a good exercise for us, because then we know where the real impact is, and we can focus there. That we don't really, we don't just think this is a problem, but we have data to know, okay, this is where we want to make some effort. So that was, all these calculations were quite intensive.
I can certainly imagine. It sounds like there's a lot more into this than a 66-page report can show.
Yeah.
Well,
and Vladimír, the report, it's just like for us. Yes, sorry.
Go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
No, the report, and I think we also mentioned it in the report. It was good exercise for us because we somehow summed up everything, get our head around the topic, to understand what it is and what it isn't, and how good we are at some point, and maybe how we are not good at some other point. So it helped us to also, it's a good exercise to do within the company, so you understand the real issues.
So then what was the space that you found to have the easiest improvement inside of Prusa research, and maybe something that you find is often an easy area for improvement in companies, period?
Good question. Let me think about. I mean, the easiest was to take down communication that PLA is biodegradable, right? Of course, you need to explain why we do that, but those were some quite fast things. I'm just looking at the report. I think we quite enjoy to put on printables.com some competitions with some sustainability feature. So we, for example, did a competition how to use last 5 meters of filament. On World Repair Day, we did a competition. Hey, show us how 3D printing can fix something, how you manage to save some stuff. So it doesn't have to be boring all the time, calculating carbon footprint, but it gives way for creativity on how to do that.
Right.
Okay. We have a Fab Lab in our factory in Prague called, obviously, Prusa Lab.
It's such a unique name. I would have never expected it.
Yeah, and the guys they do some great stuff. They have accelerators, so they try small companies who have some innovative product to actually make it happen. They work with non-profits. Recently, they developed some pointing tool for handicapped sportsmen to be able to actually move on the chair and play the game. So yeah, so those were, let's say, the nice parts of the report.
I like it. It's nice to see a company that was doing some things right, had room to improve, and then released an entire report on the areas that needed improvement and how they improved. That level of transparency is something that we don't see very often. Is your hope that the release of this report will also motivate other companies to follow in these footsteps?
Yes. No, I mean the transparency. I think it's the key here. Like we don't wanna claim here, hey, we are a sustainable company. We are far from being sustainable, right? Because it's a process, and you will never be sustainable. You can be more sustainable or less sustainable. So we just wanted to put it out very transparently and say it's a process and it's something we are working on. But outside of the 3D printing industry, like issuing sustainability reports or non-financial reports, it's not uncommon thing. It's in EU, big companies have to do it by law.
Oh, really?
Okay. By 2020 or from 2025, hundreds of other companies will have to do it by law in EU. So including us, we are ahead. We wanted to try, because it's we don't want to wait till the legislation tells us to do that. We said let's try it because it's something that will move us forward. So yeah,
this is the things that I wish we would do here in the States. Yeah. But is there going to be, and I don't know anything about the law, so is there going to be a standard where it needs to have some level of transparency? Because I feel like I'm used to the capitalism here in the States where it's like they need us to release a report on how we're being sustainable. We were sustainable. Here's your report. Leave me alone. What is going to be the accountability of that, or is it going to be minimal at best?
There is going to be a standard published this year that you will need to follow. So there's going to be methodology described on what you have to report and how it should be checked, what should be independently audited, and things like that. So it will get some, because now you can choose from different standards according to which you report. They are not comparable many times. So there is going to be one unified for the European Union. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Yeah. It's moving toward a better future, and I believe sustainability is very much a need if we are going to move in a direction that makes any bit of sense for this, for this world, right?
What is interesting, and sustainability is, let's be honest, it's a very controversial topic, right? I don't know how in US, but here in Czech, in EU, it is controversial topic. And people tend to say, hey, EU is preparing another useless legislation and stuff like that. The market is already 2 or 3 steps in advance, right? Yeah. Now we supply, apart from users, single users, we supply to big companies all around the world. Each of these companies wants from us to know if we can declare how do we protect the environment, if we control the supply chain. So it's not a new thing that will be now formed by legislation, but companies are already asking their suppliers. It's a must for us in a way to be able to supply to big companies. Right. So the legislation is always 1 or 2 steps behind, but the market solves it or shows the direction.
That's fair. Well, Vladimír, I don't want to keep you too long. You have a newborn, and it's definitely not something I want to keep you away from too long. We greatly appreciate you coming out. If you want to hang out longer, we're going to start to basically go through the report and really kind of talk about it. I'm sure I'm going to get things wrong, so feel free to in the comments, you did all of this wrong, because I feel like you're not going to be the only one that does it, but you'll be the only one that I can trust to know that I didn't do something right. Well, I do appreciate your time, seriously. It looks like we do have one more question. We have a question here. Tina Schultz is asking, how is it ensured that these are independent checks and not by some institute sponsored by coal or oil? I'm assuming that's going to be for the grader in the EU, not just in Prusa. I mean, I guess you have to ask that question everywhere, but I feel like Prusa isn't backed by coal or oil.
I don't know really if I understand well how if the reporting, how it's going to be ensured that it's not twisted, or I'm not sure if I understand the question now well.
I believe she's referencing when the EU imposes, the
Mhm.
necessity. How is there a way to validate that it's not just some fake report?
Okay, okay. Issuing the standard will be the first thing, and then there will follow some methodology on how will have to be checked.
Okay.
And there are no details out yet, but there is gonna be something hopefully solid behind that. And honestly, probably it's not gonna be perfect, but it's still gonna be a significant improvement from what is today, when you can basically say I'm sustainable, full stop. Yeah.
Right.
So it's a way. It's I'm sure it's not gonna be perfect, but it's gonna be another step forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, Vladimir, if you do want to hang out longer, you can. If you have things to do, go ahead. I do appreciate your time, man. This has been really great. I didn't think we would have the author of the actual report on here to talk to us about it before we dive into it. So that's been
And
pretty amazing. Thank you very
and
much.
for me, honestly, I was surprised that somebody from the community is even interested in this topic.
I am incredibly
Oh,
interested in this because I recognize that no matter what we do, we have a footprint. And if
yeah.
we can make small, meaningful changes
Mhm.
over and over and over, those
Mhm.
small changes equal one big one. If we try to make one big change overnight, it's never going to stick. We talked about this before
Yeah.
we came on air, and that's man, that's just good life advice, right? Don't try to make big changes, make small changes incrementally. And reports like this help me as a plebeian, normal dude that has no knowledge of anything valuable in this
Yeah.
industry when it comes to sustainability, better understand what that looks like. Because to me, sustainability is, oh, alternate resources for power that aren't coal, that aren't nuclear, that are something that is renewable. But there's so much more to sustainability than just that. And apparently it's at least 66 pages worth.
Yeah. Super. Thanks for having me. I will stay logged in, but I need to now help my wife a little bit because, as I mentioned, we have a newly born
Yes, I love that.
original Prusa, not mini, but Mimi in Czech means baby. So we have this nice merch for the babies. And yeah, if you guys have any idea, any suggestion, anything you disagree with, you can reach me out on LinkedIn, Vladimír Víšek. You can email me. You will find the email address in the report. And also, if you are interested in this topic, check this additive manufacturer Green Trade Association. I think they do some great job. Google Danish AM Hub. I think they
Okay.
do some amazing work. Danish AM Hub, Scandinavian association from Copenhagen. Lost Boys Lab from Sweden. They do some nice stuff when it comes to sustainability and 3D printing. So I think there is a lot around. And obviously, follow Prusa because we want to be working on this one.
I like that Prusa is leading the way in the at least consumer grade additive manufacturing world to put this kind of stuff out, because I believe somebody has to set the standard. And when the bar is set this high, that only means good things for other companies that want to follow. So I hope that we can move toward a more sustainable future. And I think this is the first step. So Vladimir, thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it, sir. Seriously. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Take care.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Okay. I gotta put him in the waiting room so things don't get. Oh, there he goes. Never mind. That's nice and simple. All right. So thank you guys. We're still gonna continue. We're not ending it. But Vladimir only had a little bit of time to hang out with us, so I wanted to make sure that we got in the right questions at the right time for the right reasons. We're not ending. We're not going anywhere. Just wanted to let you guys know because we're still going through. John Bigelow says, I'm late. What have I missed? You missed us actually interviewing the author of the Prusa Sustainability Report, Vladimír Víšek. I think I'm probably going to say that wrong again, but Vladimir is an awesome guy who has dedicated his life into sustainability. And I think that is it's commendable, right? It kind of leaves chills of, someone who is really dedicating their life to making sure that there is a world left when we aren't there anymore. This might be a bit of an odd transition, but I gotta figure out a way to show you guys my screen, because if I share it on Zoom, it doesn't work. We do these interviews in Zoom. So I gotta find a way to do that. Give me just a second. We're gonna find a way to do this live, because this is one of those ones I didn't think about. Because if I do this, you guys will just see that. You're not gonna see my camera unless I turn off my camera in Zoom. And then you guys will probably be able to see it. Nope, that's the big one. We don't want the big one. We want the smaller one. Is this... Okay, there's small, Grant. Perfect! This is what we're going to do to look through the report. And I'm going to take me and move me over to that edge. Sure. All right. Hey, I never said I was perfect at this. I just said I'm trying, right? You guys know this by now. I am not perfect when it comes to all this. But we are going to go through the Prusa Sustainability report for 21 and 22. If you guys have any questions, we're going to try to get a deep dive and understand it. And of course, you can ask the questions here. I will then relay some to Vladimir. Oh, okay. Now you're awake, Miss Victoria? Okay. Well, the cat's now awake. What are you doing? What are you doing, Miss Victoria? I know. Come on. Oh, say hi to the stream and then bye to the stream. We have important work to do, cat. We're looking to see how we can make it more sustainable for you to, I don't know, knock things off my counters. Allison says Victoria looks like she has a question. But yeah, if you guys don't know, Prusa did release the sustainability report. We talked about it on the previous Wednesday video, all about it. And I read through some of the report, but I wanted to leave a lot of it to be kind of real. Right, because to me, that is very, very important. Oh, Russ with the $10 super chat. Thank you, sir. Greatly appreciated. Glad to see you. It's been a minute since we saw you in the comments there. Pal says, get Sparko Cam. I don't even know what that is. Tina says, I'm here for Victoria. Grand as a bonus. I feel like that's why the channel is popular. It's because of the freaking cat. So we can see that Prusa's been around for about 11 years now, or this is their 11th year. And this kind of looks at the life stages of Prusa research, right? Where we've got a lot going on here to make things happen, right? The first employee, 10 of 2013, which is amazing. That's a lot. It's a very short time to get a staff member. I want to be very clear about that. Anyone that runs a business knows that is a very complicated thing to get done. And I guess, yeah. Sorry, I gotta adjust something real quick for myself. I'm messing it up. Grant, don't mess it up. Always messing things up. That is my life. My life is messing things up constantly. Stop clicking things, Grant. Okay. Whatever. It's going to look weird. They are not going to see it anyways. So we can see that the history of Prusa. In 2022, they made 101,232 printers. I would love to know what the breakdown of that is between minis and Mark IIIs. I think that'd be, or Mark IIIs pluses, whatever. I think the breakdown would be really interesting for us to get a better idea of what is going on and how the machines are being produced and made. 149 different countries, 545 tons of Prusa. Is that I'm assuming that's metric tons. I feel like that's metric tons. Because if it is, it makes the math a lot easier, right? A metric ton would be 1,000 kilos. So they did 545,000 kilos of filaments. That's 500,000 rolls of filament. That's it's nuts. 320,000 answer questions and requests, 285,483 models on printables, and 52 team buildings and 2 company parties. Let me link. I guess the link is going to be in this article, probably. Yep. Let me grab the link and, well, one of the mods can post it. One of the mods post the link to the sustainability report, the big one, in the chat, and then pin it. So, yeah. That's a new tattoo. I didn't realize Joe had a Mark 3S tattoo. I thought that was always an open source tattoo. I don't know. We've got a nice little read from Joe himself, and I've been told it is Josef Prusa. That's how you properly say his name, from Vladimir, but I guess no one says it right, so he's always said Joe is fine, so Joe is what we're going to go with. And then here, this is the individual that we just met with, Vladimir. So we've got a little thing on him. Starting in 2026, the sustainability report, also known as ESG report or non-financial report, will become a common part of information that larger companies in the EU will disclose in addition to their financial results. Many companies already provide such reports on a voluntary basis. Customers, investors, and public institutions are increasingly interested in understanding the impact of companies' activities on the environment, how it addresses working conditions and its supply chain, or the durability and repairability of the products it delivers to the market. I regret to inform you that a lot of American companies do not give a damn about that last half, which is that repairability. We talked about the right to repair and how important it is. And if your products aren't repairable, shame on you. They need to be repairable. I know that as a capitalist business, you just want people to buy it again. And that's where planned obsolescence and planned failure comes in, which it should be illegal. I'm not certain if it is, but if it isn't, it should be. So yeah, it upsets me when companies deliberately make things difficult to repair for the sole purpose of because we can. I don't like that. And I have a feeling a lot of you don't like that as well. The report also serves as self-reflection for our company, showing areas of success as well as areas where improvements are needed. We began comprehensively addressing sustainability in the second half of 2021. In some areas, we lack sufficient historical data. In others, we are still unable to set clear goals. I think it is important that you put that in the beginning. This is literally page 8, where we talk about the fact that we don't have all the information that we need to be 100% where we want to be. We're going to work toward it. This is the kind of transparency. I said it in the video. This is the transparency that I care about. Because as a consumer, my money is going to go to companies that give a damn about stuff like this. Sure, it's not the prettiest printer. It's not the fastest printer. It's not the most affordable printer. But they're one of the ones that give a damn about their people, about their community, and about their customers, and make everything repairable. Minus a couple of small things where you probably shouldn't be repairing it yourself anyways. Like the motherboards. Unless you have the means to do it, then it's all open source. You can go get the parts you need and solder it in yourself. So, I dig it. However, we have made clear progress in certain areas. The following content presents our first attempt to summarize what we have accomplished in recent years. If you have any questions, ideas, or recommendations after reading this report, please let us know at sustainability@prusa3d.cz. Vladimir is a really awesome guy. We talked a little bit off air, and I'm glad that he was interested in doing this, because I feel like a lot of us care about the environment, care about how the products are made, care about that companies are doing what they can to make things more environmentally friendly and more sustainable moving forward. And while this report is nothing sexy, it's not the XL5 tool heads are being shipped, which would be the biggest news coming out of Prusa, this quarter. But it is something that I think will really set a bar. And I said this with Vladimir, that it's going to set a bar, right? So they develop a sustainability strategy with their key partners in the entire 3D printing community. 3 topics perceived as the most important emerge from this research: to help recycle the useless 3D prints and leftover filament, start to offer filament on spools without sides, which they've done, or this master spool concept, and raise awareness about printing meaningful things. So the master spool concept, we've seen this. And how many of you have master spools? I have quite a few. The thing is, you never remember to buy the master spool stuff. And now with the cardboard spools, I don't know. We tooled around with the idea of embedding wildflower seeds into cardboard filament spools, and then you can just toss them into your yard. The problem is wildflowers are not the same everywhere, and they're considered invasive in certain areas. And we didn't. It all of a sudden spiraled to a point where it was no longer a viable source for us as a business model. So, grain of salt that for whatever that you're thinking of. You know what? I should do something. Give me just a second here. Where is... I should use this. There. Okay. Cool. It's reversed, but oh well. It won't matter. Oh, that's right. If I click over there, you guys can see all the freaking Chrome tabs I have open. Well, that's only mildly embarrassing. I am busy. I am very, very busy. Anyways, it's also backwards. Hopefully it's not backwards. All right. So these are things that they talked about in the smaller report. And by doing these reach outs to the community, Prusa is able to get a better hold on what the industry is looking for, right? Remember, it's about more than just the industry as a whole. It is about doing right to your fellow human. And I talked about that. And it's a little upsetting to me that it's not oh, cool. Great. We already have some mean comments. ESG is cancer. Prusa will continue on a path of commercial failure and alienating and insulting customers. Cool. Hide user from channel. Goodbye, Mr. Bond. You are no longer welcome here. See, that kind of attitude is what gets you banned from this channel. All right. Going to go back into the control room because that will be more useful for me. All right. So when we look further into the filament itself, the filament is really where a lot of this waste was easily fixed, right? Fixing the filament is pretty simple. You look at adjusting the method at which it's produced and recycling that unused material. The thing with Prusament is that it is held to such a high standard. And if you don't know this, take a look at their process for building Prusament. It is a little crazy. And they make sure the filament is really, really accurate, concentric, everything. The ovality is dealt with. It's a thing. It's a thing. So yeah, the three cornerstones they got are 3D printing for a better world environment and fair relations. And to me, one of the big ones is going to be that fair relations. If we don't operate fairly, then there's really no point in doing this from the beginning. So there's a large 3D printing community able to tackle every challenge. We try to inspire and actively engage its members in sustainability topics. And that's where a lot of these flash contests and the larger, broader contests have come up with Prusa research. They are looking at building out contests that help us better think on our toes when it comes to different things in the industry. Things like repurposing what would previously be trash in a way that actually works. Yeah, I know. It's a little bit weird to say that, oh, we're looking at repurposing things. But I promise you, there is more to it than just repurposing waste. It is putting a different mindset of, wait a minute, I can throw this out, I could recycle it, or I could find a way to give it a new life. And for a lot of us makers and geeks, we have a lot of stuff that we probably should throw away. I'm not looking at anything. But if we could find a way to make it useful, then maybe, just maybe, we can give it a second life that isn't sitting in a landfill waiting for it to slowly biodegrade in a way that it probably won't ever, right? So in 2021, the number of registered users was just under 200,000. That must have sucked. 750 short of 200,000. That must have been a real kick in the pants. But you can see in 2022 they got to 509,000 users, and excuse me, almost 4x, right? Yeah, over 4x, the number of models on the website, which shows that things are moving quite a bit. We doubled the amount of users, but we over 4x'd the amount of models. And yes, as Ben Cox says, hit that like button. If you guys are enjoying this, you enjoyed the interview with Vladimír, make sure to hit that like button. And if you are watching back audio only or listening back audio only, I apologize, because you're missing out on a lot. So I think Spotify now offers video, so you might be able to watch it on the video. I don't know, man. I don't know. Tina Schultz says, here you bring your broken kettle. An electrician chooses how you repair it and checks it if it is safe to use. If the check fails, it goes to waste. I like the ability of fixing things. Great example, my lawnmower's broken. Again, I hate my lawnmower. It always breaks, and I'm fairly certain it's the starter. I have a new starter showing up, and I'm going to replace the starter. And if it's not the starter, I have no clue what's wrong with that damn lawnmower, because she ain't turning over anymore. The starter is not engaging. So, anyways, right to repair, as Tarsman says. Hi, Jonathan. And we can see in December 22, they introduced official brand profiles, which admittedly has not been amazing. It's nice to see some companies adopting it, and Noctua, I think, is probably one of the better ones, but there are not a ton of companies that are doing it for more than publicity, right? World of Warships is a publicity thing. The new Paramount one with the Transformers Optimus Primal thing, that is marketing. That's not a right to repair thing. I think that Noctua is doing it right, where they're giving you the ability for factory certified or factory made 3D print files to adapt your coolers. And Framework, obviously, is going to be another big one where they are really committed to right to repair. I believe that this, as the industry tends to grow and as we see change, the brands page will become a bigger value for Prusa Research. So they, as Vladimír talked about, they had an international repair day where they invited the community to share their experience repairing something to help 3D print, and they collected over 1,100 ideas that utilized at least 5 meters of filament, reusing PET bottles. So it's great. And all these, by the way, are all clickable links that take you to certain things within it. And as they're going through, we're seeing quotes from people in the company, which I like. It's important to highlight more than just Joseph. It is important. Looking at how companies utilize it and bringing to light how different companies utilize 3D printing in their process will help other businesses better utilize it in theirs. And if we can start this now, we stop the main problem. The main problem right now is that the technology has gotten more affordable. Outside of Prusa, Prusa's gotten more expensive. But outside of Prusa, the technology has gotten more affordable, right? Companies are churning out printers at the $200 to $300 mark that are decent. Prusa printers, to me, they work great. I have no issues with them, and I am willing to pay the Prusa tax, just like people are willing to pay the Samsung tax or the Apple tax, because you have a known system of values that you believe in. Although, values and Samsung and Apple don't really go together. But anyways, Tina Schultz said, sorry, I have to go. Have fun. Rainbows for Florida. That's right. Rainbows for Florida. I'm down for it. So we can see Skoda and Lasvit Glassworks, so a couple of companies that are using it. ETH Zurich, as well as Tatra Metallurgy. And you guys can read the report. We're not going to go through those. Obviously, one of the big use cases for 3D printing, we all saw it March of 2020 was some dark days around the world, but the 3D printing community said, wait a minute, we can fix this. And, or at least do something to fix it. Do something other than nothing. And so Prusa in the Czech Republic donated nearly 200,000 shields to medical personnel and professionals, and in fact got them certified by the WHO, which is pretty damn cool. And the models and instructions have been downloaded by over 250,000 people. And I think if nothing else, this whole human malware incident that the world went through showed us that it isn't us versus them. It's not, team fast growing plant versus team orange. It's we can all, although fast growing plant team didn't exist back then, but nonetheless, it's not team orange versus team somebody else. It's everybody working together for a bigger and brighter future. That to me is important. I don't like the rival. I like some rivalry. I think it's good to have some rivalry, right? It puts us in a position where people are, competing. Fighting is the wrong word. Competing is the right word. And of course, Prusa has their education program. I do still need to go into it, but they have donated over 1,000 3D printers, which is really cool. Really cool. So I definitely dig it. So looking at 3D printing in developing countries, right? A lot of us happen to be in developed nations where we have access to energy, we have access to resources, but a lot of developing nations might not have that kind of access. And giving them access to technology like 3D printing can vastly, vastly increase their adaptation of other technologies, because now you can integrate them into already existing infrastructure. Right? When you look at making car parts, to me are the biggest one, right? You look at an old car. Mandic really just did a great video on making a dashboard replacement panel for a 65 Chevy that he's working on. And that was a really cool piece of tech. Something that would have been a disaster of trial and error back in the old day. Back in the new school here, we have 3D scanners and 3D printers that can really push this through. So we can see that 3D printers also helps in developing countries where it's changing the established ways of production and distribution. Thanks to 3D printing, it's a matter of hours to design and produce something on site instead of waiting for weeks or months. Time is of the essence. In 2022, thanks to the support of the Czech Development Agency, that one might be wrong, we implemented the project for support socially beneficial 3D printing in the Gambia. Maybe that's not wrong. I don't know if it is. Which significantly strengthened the technical and professional potential of our local partner company, Make 3D Limited. The project also included a practical training course focused on sharing experience with 3D printing between doctors and biomedical engineers from the Czech Republic and the Gambia. That is a big deal. Especially when it comes to doing small medical devices that might not be FDA cleared, but if you need it, you freaking need it. Teaching people how to utilize the tech to make them stuff right when they need it, again, in hours or days, rather than weeks or months. That is how lives get saved. That is how countries continue in the right direction. And of course, Prusa does a lot with Doctors Without Borders. They also do a lot with other nonprofits. So if you are a nonprofit, there is a lot that Prusa can do to assist you if you are looking at the education and the help in developing nations. I loved the contest for dealing with injuries, whether it is helping Ukraine and the war in Ukraine. That is a really great social cause. But I also like seeing the fact that this technology is being used for the average everyday person that might not, well, here in the States at least, have access to good healthcare. Yeah, you might think in a developed nation like the United States, access to good healthcare is easy. It's not, and it's very expensive. And that means a lot of Americans go without health insurance. And for the cost of health insurance for 1 month, they can get themselves a 3D printer and make some of the stuff that they would have to go to a doctor to get otherwise. I'm sorry, I might opt for the 3D printer instead. And you might say, well, Grant, that's just stupid. Well, have a $20,000 hospital bill for being there for 8 hours. And tell me that's an actual reasonable thing that should occur. It's not. Ooh, I clicked the button to make that one a short for the channel. I don't think Andrew's going to let that one go through. I don't think Andrew's going to let me have that one. We can see some future plans and goals are to continue supporting local 3D printing communities in developing countries, promoting 3D printing from local sources, and utilize waste materials. The Recreator, one that uses plastic soda bottles to make filament. I would love to check one out on the channel. It's something that I need to reach out to Josh about. Is it Josh? I'm pretty sure it's Josh. To get, because I would like to check it out. Oh, even though PET is a real pain in the ass to print, I think there's still some value in it for sure. So in cooperation with both Czech and international nonprofit organizations to seek support further use of 3D printing for social beneficial purposes, especially in medicine and human aid, and inviting new schools into the Prusa education program while also engaging the existing members. It's a big deal. Dino says, I'm a great user of Recreator. Great. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Prusa Lab, of course, as Vladimír was saying, is really all about looking into building here. Well, building there, but here for them, there for us, right? Inside of Prusa Research, utilizing the technology there to help accelerate people with ideas to get them from concept to reality. Hi, I'm neurodivergent, and so are most of you. I'm just going to paint with a broad brush. And it means that it might suck for you to start a project, and it probably sucks for you to finish a project, because it's a little daunting. It's why I struggle with what to film every week, because there's a lot of things that I want to film, and I don't know what I should. Guess what? I don't know what I'm doing this week. The video. I have no clue, but I gotta figure it out today. That's part of where having a facility to help you get there matters. For us, it's our Patreon Discord. It's also available through YouTube channel members and PayPal, should you do want to support us financially. Links to all of that are going to be in that description down below. But it is something that I go to and say, I need help. And a lot of it is, can someone just please shut up all the talking in my head and tell me what I should make a video on? That'd be great, and I can go out and do it. It's no big deal. I can make a video when I know the topic. But having the help of experts around you, or even other people in the industry, is incredibly valuable. And that's where the value of Prusa Lab really comes in. It enables the local community in Prague to develop their ideas around industry experts. This is the true idea of a makerspace to me. I like it. It's fun. Spurlock says, turns out in Illinois and other states, it's illegal to DIY and sell medical stuff. Well, if you sell it, yes. So you can't sell that kind of stuff because you have a liability concern. But, you know, if you need to fix it for yourself, what they don't know won't hurt them and can only help you. Take that with whatever grain of salt you want. We talked about recycling a little bit. And Sun Turtle Camper was asking a lot about recycling. And I will tell you, it's not where it needs to be right now to be commercially viable. At least with PLA and PETG, you can't just use nothing but regrind. You have to add in virgin material. And by that notion alone, it tends to really muddy the water on what recycling actually is. Prusa is able to reduce their carbon footprint for the filament by upwards of 50% by using this recycling process, because they're not trucking in as much raw material anymore. They're just paying for the energy to grind it into the right pellet size and then re-extrude it. But do note, the less virgin raw material that you put in there, the weaker your reprint material will be. This material, because you're heating it up so much, the crystalline structure changes. And you deal with material that the more you heat it and cool it, it starts to work harden, and it will start to fail. If any of you have utilized PLA or PETG to do ball and socket joints, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Eventually, those joints get really, really loose, and they're not functional anymore. It's because the material is work hardening. and there's nothing you can do to stop it. Traditionally, in the ball joint doll industry, they'll use like nail polish or something like that that doesn't really work hard in that much as an interface layer so that you're not grinding away plastic. You just have two interface layers that are compatible. The cat is here. Here she is, Miss Victoria. There's her tail. Hello, Mrs. Tail. You gonna come sit down in your bed? Come on. It's okay. Mrs. Victoria. Okay, you're gonna come here? Wherever you want to go. Come on, Cotton Eye Joe. Let's go. Figure out where you're going. Come on. Go ahead. Come on. It's okay. Get. Red. Cat. Okay. Hi. Never let the machines win. Mike says orange nail polish works best. I feel that. No? Okay. All right, we're moving. What are we doing here, Miss Kitty? Come on. At least sit in my lap because you keep hitting the microphone. Okay. Well, we're just going to be a pain. Cat says we're just going to be a pain. We had all the options. We chose violence. Sustainable, timeless, playful, effing cool. Now that's a tagline right there. I dig it. So further plans and goals. They're planning a cooperation with makerspaces across Europe with the aim of promoting the efficient reuse of 3D printing waste. We talked about this in the comments a little bit here in the chat that, what would the value of a regrinding and stop rubbing on the microphone, cat. Jeez. All right. Come here. Okay. It's okay. The whole world loves you. The internet, all 27 of them love you. And you are the best little bean there ever was. All right. Some of us have work to do, though. Some of us are trying to do work. And all you're trying to do is screw it up. All right. Are we good now? Are we good? No? Okay. All right. Too bad. When designing products in their accelerator program, they plan to further emphasize the environmental benefits of the solution. If you can 3D print something more efficiently than you can do it with traditional manufacturing, then stick to it. But understand that efficiency doesn't always stop rubbing on my microphone. All right. Back down you go. Go. Out, please. I'm sorry. I want to talk about useful things, but this cat, I love her to death, but sometimes she's a pain in my ass, and it's always what I'm filming. She slept the entire time I was talking with Vladimir. As soon as I finished, she's like, oh, Grant's talking to a camera. That means it's time for Cat to be the star. Now she's sauntering away, upset at me. When giving lectures on 3D printing and modeling, they will emphasize the meaningfulness of the finished product. If you build a product for something more than just to make money, right? If there's a social good or an aspect to it that is to provide a greater good, I'm here for it. I believe that that's where this industry needs to move as a whole and say, all right, 3D printing benchies is cool. By the way, 3D Musketeers is working on our own calibration model, and the Discord has been heavily involved in it. I am so excited to show you guys when it's done. Suffice to say, it's going to be really cool and have a great naming scheme. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. And so they're trying to minimize impact of their activities on the environment, and they look for ways to introduce more sustainable products and services to optimize the production. There is a big deal here when we look at specifically carbon footprint. And while there might be some people that believe carbon footprint is bullshit, I believe they're the ones that are creating most of the problem. We know that climate change is real. And if you don't think that it is, get out of these videos and leave my channel. Because honestly, I'm gonna ban you from making comments anyways. You will be the only person that can see it. Go to the echo chambers that you like. Go read a damn book. Because honestly, you're wrong. Carbon footprint is a real thing. Climate change is a real thing. And we as the people that have caused the problems must look to find an equitable solution that makes sense. Is it going to be cheap? No, it's not going to be cheap. But we are the ones that put ourselves into this position. We are the ones that must get us out, or we are doomed to watch this planet die. You decide what you want. Whether you want the future generation to be okay, or you're like the current people in charge that don't give a shit. All they want to do is make a ton of money, and they're going to die in 5 years anyways. They don't care what happens after it. Well, I do. And I want to make sure the world that we leave behind is a good world for future generations. People that didn't grow up to vote, that need to grow up and understand what it is like to be a human, what it is like to have opinions, what it is like to be different. And if we say that things like this don't exist, you're just lying to the new generation. And they don't know any better. Stop lying. Anyways, I'm off my soapbox. I'm off my soapbox. I just really hate when people say, "Oh, it's not real." It's real. It's real. Tim B.O. says, "Don't alienate who is listening to you." Later. Don't give a shit. If you feel alienated by the fact that you don't care about this climate, leave my channel. I do not care. Do not care at all. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. This isn't an airport. No need to announce your departure. I don't care. If you believe that you want to help out this industry, if you want to help out the world, if you want to make a change that lasts longer than you do, welcome. And if you don't want any of that stuff, I can recommend you some channels. A lot of them are 3 letters. So looking at the company's carbon footprint, and it is the sum of all greenhouse gas emissions converted to their CO2 equivalents. That's useful. We wanted to have a comprehensive overview of our impact on the environment. So we started by calculating the carbon footprint associated with our business. Frankly, it was a lot of work. If any of you have ever looked at what that is, it's a shitload of work, okay? Considering and accurately identifying all materials we use in our production, contacting suppliers and finding out from them where and how a given component is delivered to us, keeping track of the energy and water consumption, or making a survey on how our colleagues travel to work. There's so much BS involved in getting that right. And spoiler alert, you might not always get it right, and that's okay. It is okay to try your best and still not get it right. So we can see that the scope 1 is direct emissions, and we can see that it's 14.2 tons of carbon dioxide emitted. We can see it's the little green line right there, little green line. Scope 2 is the indirect from purchased energies, which is 2,115.62 tons of carbon dioxide. We can see that there. And then other. Other is, it's a fair bit. It's a fair bit. So we can see that Scope 1 really covers the direct emissions from our own sources inside the company. In case Prusa Research, it's fuel for company cars, refrigerants for air conditioners. Scope 2 is indirect emissions from purchased energies. In the case of Prusa Research, electricity and district heating supply. Scope 3, district heating supply. Turn on your print farm and pump the heat through the office. Come on, Prusa, you shouldn't need to heat your building. You got like a print farm of 800 printers. You don't need to heat your building. You need to pump that hot air through the building. Come on. We all know the best way to heat a house in the winter is Bitcoin mining. You all can do it with your 3D printers too. I have faith in you. Shame, Prusa. You gotta, that one you can do better on. I know you can do better on that. Scope 3 includes purchase supplies and their transportation to us, transportation of finished products from us to customers, investments into Prusa Research tangible assets, business trips, commuting, or home office. Also, water consumption and waste management. Scope 3 does not include emissions of 3D printers operated by customers or their disposal. We don't have reasonable data in this regard so far. So far means they might be working toward it, and I don't know how they're going to do it. I'd love to see it, but I don't think they're going to have great success with it personally. I think there's a lot more to it that the average consumer isn't tracking. Hell, I'm not even tracking it. I'm not tracking how much waste of filament that we produce a month. It's a pain because material has different densities, And while you will know how many grams, you don't know how much actual plastic versus additives that you're producing. As you know, a lot of companies add 11 herbs and spices to their filament, whether it is to make it easier to print, faster to print, different colorants, glitters, and all of that. Those all have different impacts on the environment and make the material more or less recyclable. So, something to deal with there. So, as part of the ask from the community, Prusa did bring out these refills, and I dig them. The refills are pretty nice. I don't use a lot of Prusa mint, admittedly, and that's because it's expensive. And even so, it's even more of a pain in the ass to get it because it has to be shipped from overseas. And if we get it from somebody like Printed Solid or we get it from here in the States, I pay as much, if not more, than if I just bought it from Prusa themselves. So, you know, it is a it's 6 and 1/2 dozen of the other. There is no win here, not in my opinion. I don't think there's a huge win. And when we look at shipping companies that focus more on getting stuff to you fast than they do getting it to you efficiently, it's a bit of a problem. You know, when Amazon gives you the option to have your stuff delivered different days or have it delivered all in one day to reduce emissions, there is very little value to you as the consumer to be green. There is, well, actually, at best, like $1.50 digital credit. Ooh, you know, that's nothing. And no one's willing to get $1.50 of digital credit to wait an extra day. Because if you need something and you need it fast, you're willing to pay to get it fast. And so I get that that is a bit of greenwashing. And while it is valuable, they will make less trips. Amazon still has massive problems with their logistics. Hell, I'm getting 2 Amazon deliveries today. They're apparently not coming together because one of them is already outside my door and the other one isn't. So the Amazon is now going to make 2 trips out to me rather than knowing to put it all on the same vehicle. So, yeah. And as Spurluck says, I love Jesse PLA because it's sourced in the US, which is closer to me. I love Jesse PLA as well. And I am looking forward to doing more work with Printed Solid. We're going to be touring them again come up for the East Coast Rep Rap Festival. So stay tuned for that because that is absolutely happening. So I like it, right? They've got this new recycled, which is 100% made from production waste. Now, I've never used it, so I can't be very clear about the properties of it. But I know it's not going to be as good as the raw material. And I believe it's the Henry Ford. It's any color you want as long as it's black. I would like to see that they look at offering an orange recycled as well, and that's the material that they use to make the printers out of, that they're made out of recycled materials. Now, I can understand their reasoning for not, especially if the properties of the material are worse than virgin material, but it would be really cool to see a recycled Prusa printer be available, maybe at a reduced cost or something like that. Mad Cat says, I need to look into where it is sourced from, but California Filament and Printbed are also USA-based companies. I know Printbed makes their own. Apparently, all the soy and corn is grown here in the Midwest. I will have to ask David. Obviously, he will know the answer to this, but I don't know the answer. I know that they source a lot of their PLA from NatureWorks. That is a known thing. Or no, it's Inigo. Isn't that from NatureWorks? I don't know. They source their materials from local suppliers. But do those suppliers source it from inside the United States too? I don't know. Or are we coming back? Are we coming back to choose violence? Yep, we're coming back to choose violence. Did we go down or we went down? Okay, we went down. The cat came in and chose violence today. Are we okay? Hey, are we okay? Are we good? Are we just opting to choose violence today? Is that what we're doing? Are you okay? You are choosing violence today. She does not. She might want to play, but she's choosing violence. I will tell you, this cat is choosing violence today. So the most frequent feedback topic, 1/3 of all answers, was recycled, failed, or no longer needed prints. And so far, there's not a great answer. because it's not an easy task, but they accept the following challenges. The current situation is as follows. 3D printing waste is dispersed in small amounts throughout the world. Households, workshops, schools, etc. PLA and PETG are the most frequently used. Both are recyclable in theory, but in most countries, there is no existing infrastructure for these particular materials. This is true. During the take-back, it will not always be possible to distinguish which material it is, which makes further recycling more difficult. This is also true. Unlike some materials, like ABS is considerably less dense than PLA and PETG. PLA and PETG are roughly the same density. So it'd be very difficult to try to classify them out. And because it is often now with machines like the Bamboo that can really accurately do mixing, using PLA and PETG in the same print is a thing. Okay, Filament Source says Inigo is the resin product, not the company. See? There you go. Yeah. Are we okay? No. See, I go to pet her and she's just trying to bite me. She's just trying to bite me. I mean, here. This is... Nope, that's not the right webcam. Wrong webcam, Grant. Grant has it wrong. Oh, well. This is... Yeah. This is the... You guys want to see the big, yeah, see, every time I go to pet her, she tries to bite me. So, yeah, we're just going to go back to the report. Spurlock says, whatever filament you use, foods you eat, if it is produced closer to you, the better. It's true. Oh, Filament Story says she has to run. We'll see you later. Enjoy. So what is their goal? To explore local recycling options, i.e. as close to the source of waste as possible, or other uses of the waste material with partners from different parts of the world. They look for a solution that makes sense for both environmental and commercial viewpoint. They don't want to recycle just for the sake of it. And I agree here. It's why I like that Greengate 3D does the recycling of the spools. And they bring a pallet to shows for people to fill. And then people can just, in the spare area of their luggage, they can just bring extra empty spools that they can give to Greengate. But if you didn't notice, spools are kind of really space inefficient. So it's like, guys, there's never a perfect solution. And it's so frustrating. But the idea of having like a local place in areas with lots of heavily dense 3D printers could have like a local makerspace with a regrinder where you provide your waste, they weigh your waste out, and you pay a rate to get it reground. And you wouldn't get your exact waste because that would just take too long. They'll likely collect a bunch of waste. Then they'll do a big regrind and extruding session. And, you can pay less money to get that filament. That's great. I love that idea. But you're looking at probably $10,000 plus per install to make that happen. And you got to find a space with space to do it and the right people to run it that are charismatic, that can market it correctly to the outside world, that understand that they're going to have to look at learning how to classify materials and all of this. There's yeah. Zerno said, I thought it was Ingio, not Inigo. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong, but I thought it was Inigo. No, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. He killed my father, prepare to die. That's quality. That's quality. And as Transylvania Turf Company says, corn equals monocropping, which equals horrible for the environment and the bee population. We care about the bees, don't we? We like the bees, don't we, Victoria? We like the bees, right? We do. We like the bees. Bees are good. Bees are good. So we talked about reducing the size of the printers, and I had to get my little joke in there that it was the IKEA guy that did it, and of course it wasn't. It was people inside of Prusa Research, and yeah, all right, a 7% reduction is not huge, but it's not bad. It helps out a lot. An extra 7% inside of a shipping container or inside of a box truck does go a long way to getting a couple more machines in there or other packages in there to be using the same amount of fuel to transport stuff. So in 2022, they began using paper tape instead of plastic tape, making it easier to recycle the cardboard packaging afterwards. Now we pack 90% of our shipments that way. And you would think something as dumb as going from plastic tape to paper tape. I should do that. I got to get more tape soon. I think we might go to paper tape as a company. It's not that much more expensive. Yeah, I think we can commit to that. That's a pretty easy thing to commit to. Utilizing paper tape instead of plastic tape. I can deal with that, making it easier to recycle the cardboard packaging afterwards. Now we pack 90% of our shipments that way. In addition, we're continually replacing plastic packaging fillers with recycled paper fillers. I love that. I love when I open up a 3D printer box and there's none of that foam. It's all like, shredded paper, and not like you would get from like a lawyer's office, right? The shredded paper, but like the torn, I don't know, it looks like chicken wire, but it's made of paper. That's the kind of stuff that I love because it is great packaging material and it's 100% recyclable. And it was probably recycled as its own. Product protection plays an important role here, so we stick to plastic fillers where they are necessary to protect our product with original Prusa enclosures. But they also want to be more efficient with the packaging coming from their suppliers, many of which are now for single use. Some of the packaging we use in our warehouse for internal logistics, while other is offered to companies that could make further use of them. We currently rotate. For example, containers for print sheets that our suppliers use take back to reuse. I dig that. A lot of people know this about us, but I often ship packaging to people in just like Amazon boxes and Amazon mailers, because while we could have fancy boxes with logos and shit on them, I think it's better for us to reuse packaging that we already have that I don't have to then dispose of. It gets another life. And that to me has more value to it than the traditional method of use it once and throw it away. Also, that's way too phallic for me, Prusa. Come on, get it together. Way too phallic. And as Spurlock says, it takes time to do stuff. Progress isn't instant. Mike, Never Let Machines Win, says, I like reusable packing materials for sending out finished products. I do too. I'm always worried that, a company's going to get it and say, oh, they cheaped out on the box. Because, like, if you do have a nice shipping box, it is really, really nice. Like, if you look at Apple's packaging, it's really, really nice. Like, really, really nice. But it's expensive. And it's not all that green, right? It's just not. So in October 2022, they made the DHL Go Green service available to the customers. It allows them to choose to have their carbon footprint of their shipment offset by investment in a project that reduces or prevents CO2 emissions elsewhere, for customers using DHL delivery services choosing this method. According to DHL, the compensated carbon footprint was 46,130 kilograms of carbon dioxide. See appendix number 4 for more information. John Oliver has talked about this, where often these carbon offset things. Ooh, why is that frozen? That's not good. Oh, okay. Oh, well, my C drive is now going through the roof. Cool. Love that. But John Oliver has talked about how often these carbon offsets are bullshit, right? Where it's just companies looking to make extra money. They don't actually invest it into anything. And I would like to believe that Prusa has done their research there. I did not get this far into it, so if I had, I probably would have asked Vladimir about it, but I guess I can ask him about it in the thing via LinkedIn. But it is something that I would like to learn a little bit more about, because I worry that these carbon offset businesses are potentially just scams. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. We can see energy went up a little bit, water went down. It's a big deal. Water is, while technically renewable, if we can reduce our use of water, that'd be great. Says Grant, the guy that just found I found on Monday that we had, or Amber found it, I had to deal with it, a pipe with a hole in it in the wall. It's fun. It's fun when you find your walls fuzzy and have to deal with it. Of course, it was under a sink, so that was cool. Nothing a reciprocating saw and some blowtorch and solder doesn't fix, but still a metric pain in the ass, which is, 2.2 regular pains in the ass. Waste is something that a lot of us generate a ton of. And, especially with 3D printing, man, we've got the plastic bags or the Mylar bags filament comes in, the spools that are on it, the tape that is used to hold the filament, the box that it comes with, the shipping label that's on the box. All of this becomes waste. And let's not discuss the failed prints, right? Which hopefully are fewer and far between, but hey, it happens. They apparently did a waste scan with a company called Circle. Yeah, Circle. Okay, Circle. To identify opportunities to minimize waste. By changing the manufacturing process of plastic parts, they decreased the amount of waste by 7%. They started to use filament production waste to manufacture recycled filament, and they're actively looking for a better use of plastic waste from their production, which now mainly goes into waste to energy facilities where it is burned to produce heat. They are in contact with several external partners who are interested in recycling this type of material. Yeah, I can get, being able to burn, material waste, but it's a zero-sum game, right? Because that burning is going to release CO2 into the atmosphere. So I don't know, man. We can see over the course of 1 year, they only produced, 2 tons more of waste. That is not a lot of extra waste for the massive amount of extra machines that they shipped. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know. We can see that their landfill went down, but their recycling and material use went down as well. I'm assuming that's a percentage. So okay. So it went down because they were able to decrease the amount of waste. So yes, okay, that would make sense that it went down. That's fair. Fair relations, something that we talk about a lot, right? And they put something in there. We actually cut it from the main video, but the entire talk about employee injuries, right? They lowered their turnover rate. And a 6% turnover it's not too bad, but when you consider all the staff that Prusa has, that's a pretty high turnover rate. I would like to see it reduced, but the fact of the matter is people are going to leave their jobs to go do other stuff. Whether they're disgruntled or not is really what you should be looking at. And it's like, why did they turn over? Why did the job turn over? Did they leave to go to a different company? Did they say, F you, F this, F everything, I'm out? I would love to know more about that. But, yeah, the salary amount is set according to the category of the position and is based on experience of the new employee, regardless of gender, nationality, or level of education. Employees can influence the amount in their own remuneration. We reward improvements with individual yearly bonuses. The turnover rate in 21 and 22 was particularly influenced, that's fair, by human malware. Yeah, and they had to downsize due to reduction in production volumes. Following the economic recovery, turnover was driven by increased competition in the labor market. Okay, these are all actually really, really fair. No, yeah, that's true. Spurlock says comparing an EU-based company versus US can be difficult when discussing compensation. Yeah, no kidding. They try to reduce turnover already during the recruitment process where we provide candidates with detailed information about the job and company culture. We place great emphasis on the quality of the onboarding and adaptation process. This is something that I know we don't do well in 3D Musketeers. We don't have a great onboarding process. It's kind of, here's the fire hose, start drinking. And while it's worked okay because we do end up finding people that can do this, it is a little rough, right? And I don't think I'm particularly well suited in building an onboarding process because my onboarding process for myself has been 15 years of learning how to do this stuff slowly. So here's what they're doing extra. I like this. I really want to read this one verbatim to you guys. What do we have extra? All employees after their trial period have the following benefits. 1 week of private family vacation in our holiday apartments and a financial contribution for a child's recreation. What? Up to 21 days of paid vacation. Free fitness center right on the premises. Multi-sport discount cards for sport activities. Discounted massage. Excuse me. Staff members of 3D Musketeers, stop listening to this. I can't afford this. I don't know what the EULA Care CZ service, online therapy and coaching, pension fund contribution, which we don't have because we don't have, full-time staff. Free mobile tariffs for 2 people. I do not know what that means. Contribution to language training of its own choice. That would be cool. Cleaning and laundry vouchers. Awesome if you can do it. Meal vouchers of the highest possible value up to a 50% discount on our products, free Prusa Lab membership and discounts with our partners for electronics, shoes, clothing, banking, etc. That is, that's pretty cool. Man, there's so much here that I wish we could do. It's just not feasible, right? We don't have holiday apartments, so I can't give our staff a holiday vacation. 21 days of paid vacation. They're 1099 independent contractors. They can choose how much they want to work or how they don't. Oh, apparently mobile tariffs are cell phone contracts. Okay. Grant is updating his resume. Free fitness center right on premises. Our staff are remote, so that wouldn't work. Discounted massages. I want those. Shit. We don't offer that. Pension fund. We don't offer that. Free mobile phones for 2 people. We don't offer that. Contribution to language training of its own choice. I would look at potentially, if we had staff that wanted to learn a different language, I would look at potentially doing that. Cleaning and laundry vouchers, like there's not much I can do there. Meal vouchers, they're not on premises. So yeah. And discounts on products. Yeah. Our staff get to use the machines, when they're not being utilized by customers, effectively free of charge. So, and, we do let them buy via our corporate buying accounts. So they do get discounts on, materials. But so they've got some goals here. Further support the personal growth of our employees, better define their responsibilities, and make communication throughout the company more efficient, and then to decrease employee turnover rate to under 5.5%. It's pretty cool. And apparently they average around 37 training hours per employee per year, excluding language training. When choosing candidates for open positions, we reach out to internal candidates first. I prefer to hire from within. It's not often that we hire a lot of new people, but when we do, we look to see who in our staff have family members that might be of value to us first. Because if you are a family member of our staff, so like the rebranding that we did a couple of years back was from Thomas, who was related to one of our lead engineers, Tad. They're brothers. And I didn't know this. And I always yell at Tad for it because Tad has been with the company for like 5 years now. And I didn't know about Thomas till like year 3. So it is just, it's funny where had we started asking those questions earlier of, what does your family look like? What can we do to help better interact with your family and have you get a better relationship with your family? I like that kind of stuff, and I'm here for it. This one is what hits home for me, because I suffered a debilitating work-related injury in 2020, April 9th of 2020. If you guys want to hear about that story, I talked about it April 9th of 2023, 3 years exactly after my injury. I talked about it here on the channel. And in the last 2 years, they have dealt with 5 accidents to their core employees, resulting in sick leave, more than 3 calendar days, and no accidents to their external colleagues. To prevent similar injuries, we have conducted company-wide employee education, established safer work practices, and updated their list of evaluated risks. Together with our occupational health care provider, we addressed 4 cases of suspended occupational illnesses or complaints of health problems arising at work. Eventually, none of the cases was confirmed an occupational illness. I was permanently disabled because of my work-related injury. I will never be the same. And this was a business that, a nonprofit that at the time, my area was not even open to the public. We were still doing setup when I sustained my injury. And so to see that Prusa is just so much better at this warms my heart, because there are so many machines in this process, especially when you look at manufacturing, that will not only kill you, but they will hurt the entire time that you are dying. And to see that they're having minimal, if any, major health issues. And we can see the injuries were bruises, cuts, and fractured fingers. So they put their fingy where their fingy shouldn't have been. I don't want to go into it because I know I am contractually obligated to limit my discussions of that injury, but yeah. TLDR, I wish more companies did this. That's all I gotta say, because it hurts me literally, to know that my injury could have been prevented. Knowing that a plan, a system, a protocol, procedures, anything would have allowed me to prevent my injury. It sucks. Spurlock says, the global company I work for, I see how things are done in the EU versus the US with employee injuries. And let's say the US wants to blame the employee for the injury and avoid a lawsuit. The EU side of the house doesn't do that. Get better so you can get back to work. Yeah. That was always my deal. My deal was always, I want to get better so I can get back to work. And when I finally had to use the cane, it was pretty obvious to me that I would never get back to that job, which is a shame because it was a makerspace director. And I am uniquely qualified to be a makerspace director. The 2 business degrees plus 15 years in this industry. And now as a content creator, I am certainly qualified to be a makerspace director. Anyways, one important step to increase employee safety was the introduction of a monitoring system in the form of a special watch or wristband for employees working alone. If necessary, the system is able to call for help. For example, if an employee would fall unconscious. In 2022, we established a cooperation with the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering of the CTU. Together, we conducted an ergonomics audit and set standards for our workplace. The aim of this project is to eliminate ergonomic injuries and occupational diseases and to have a happy and healthy employees. That is so cool! I want that. In addition to regular safety and fire protection training, we focused first on first aid and working with automatic external defibrillators, or AEDs, that they purchased for the company. That's cool. So they want to keep the 0 occurrence of permanent injuries. Place I worked can't say that. Well, they can't say they have. So, a lot of quality control stuff. Big deal there when you're looking at businesses, making sure that your suppliers are maintaining quality control. People give Prusa a lot of shit. Some of it is deserved, some of it isn't, regarding the fact that they are constantly having delays. These delays, to me, are a lot to do with the quality control of the suppliers. Prusa has talked about having issues with the quality of the rails, the LM8 rails, the 8mm rails that are used on the X, Y, and Z of the MK3, and I think on the X and Y of the MK4, because I think the Z is now 10mm on that. But, you know, those are issues where you must stop, utilize whatever stock that you have in inventory that is still good, and then work at validating new suppliers. That sucks. Anybody ever had to, you know, in an instant, try to reevaluate a new supplier and it not worked out well for you? This is where this level of transparency starts to matter, and where I have given Prusa a lot of benefit of the doubt, and it proves that I was right. That giving them the benefit of the doubt to look at quality control in a meaningful way and really better understand how it affects the business and the end use products and how that relates to warranty claims is huge. And if that means we have to wait a little bit longer for our products, I will be impatient about it, but I will be understanding about it. We can see that shows they have reduced their warranty claims by over 50%. So this is warranty claims for the MK3S, the Mini, the SL1S, and the MMU. So we can see that they were almost at 1% in 2020, and by 2022, they were almost under 0.25%. So if we know that Prusa sent out about 100,000 printers in 2022, we can see that, what? 1/4 of that percent, what is that? 25? Right? Is that call it 0.3. So 100,000 times 0.3. Oh. What? How is that right? 30,000? They had 30,000 warranty claims? No. Oh, excuse me. I did that wrong. 100,000 times 0.003. 0.3%. Yeah, that's good math, Grant. 300. Okay. Yeah, I know it's 30%. I screwed it up. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect. Ben Cox says we need to see that graft against sales over that the same period. That would be cool. But yeah, you're looking at 300 major warranty claims. Shit, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Easily repairable product. I mean, we talk about this, right? And I yell constantly at my Bamboo for being one of the hardest machines to repair. Now, thankfully, I've gotten really good at replacing the extruder and the hot end because I'm doing it every couple of days. But like other maintenance on those machines can be a real challenge. Like to replace the motherboard fan, right? They actually want you to remove the entire motherboard to replace a fan. I just ripped the fan out and then stuck a new one in. It seemed to work okay, but like having to replace all of that, that's hours and hours of labor. To replace a fan on a Prusa is like 3 screws. So, yeah. Spurlock says, in the IT world, you would see things as 99.55555 or 99.9999 5 nines of uptime. Prusa sales boomed during the human pandemic. You had a lot of inexperienced people entering the hobby. That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, I like the repairability. There we go. They want to reduce costs while maintaining or improving the quality of the product. Yeah, but at some point you can only reduce the cost so much before you start doing value engineering, where you're engineering out the quality of the part itself. So you have to be careful with that. I know that that's a goal, but it is something that a lot of companies can fall victim to very quickly, where they end up value engineering the product so much that it becomes no longer valid, if that makes sense. They want to keep warranty rates below 0.5%. I think that's not going to be too difficult. And they want to create product passports for more products. I would love to see a product passport, which is their whole breakdown of how the product is built for the Mark IV and specifically for the XL. Because that would be really cool. And I bet you guys would like to see it too. So before the paper center tube was 45, they used the paper tube for 45% less plastics. After they use the recycled paper center tube, which is then also with 100% polycarbonate. The big thing here is that PLA is not biodegradable. We talked about it with Vladimir. I don't know why people always say that it is. And sure, under ideal conditions, perfect and all of that, it will biodegrade. But as Maker's Muse showed, you can bury it, or was it CNC Kitchen? I always forget who did that. If you just bury it in your yard, you're just going to release microplastics into the ground. It's not going to do anything. So, yeah. So they removed it from saying 100% recyclable to 100% recycled polycarbonate. So I like that. Oh, they both did it? Okay. Apparently they both did it. Personal data protection. You mean there are companies that care about protecting my data? Who knew? It's like if you encrypt your data, I'm not going to believe you. And I don't care what your privacy policy says. I'm going to think you're a lying piece of shit because chances are you're a lying piece of shit. And yeah, Prusa, if you do decide to send data to them, will show it to you in plain text what you are sending. And you can get a record of that whenever you want. Companies that force you into data collection without your consent or completely kneecap a machine's ability when you refuse to send that kind of data, like not being able to update your machine if you don't connect it to the internet, that is a fucking problem. And I apologize for dropping an F-bomb. I am trying to do better on the streams of cussing less, but that's a problem. That's why my Bamboo's not going to get updated until they can make that happen. That's why Bamboo Studio is not going to get updated either. They can go to hell. So they updated the documentation describing and processing of both personal data and the association of potential risks to data subjects, including assessment of data transfers. With their existing business partners, they have executed new contractual clauses that comply with the GDPR standards regarding data transfers to third countries. We have introduced a due diligence tool in relation to new service providers, which will act as our data processors. Our employees undergo regular professional training focused on privacy and the protection of personal data. For customers and employees, we've introduced a central contact address for exercising their rights regarding processing of personal data. These are privacy and HR-privacy at Prusa3D.com. Yeah. I know, Kenneth, that Orca is better than Bamboo. I know. But until I get my issues worked out with the company of Bamboo, I'm not going to go over to a new slicer because they spent 7 days blaming my third-party print bed because they're not willing to accept fault of their own. So if I go to if I go to Orca Slicer, I promise you that will be the new problem. So I'm going to stick to Bamboo Studio for now. As soon as I can get my machine running properly, I'm nixing that and bringing in Orca Slicer. And in fact, I would like to actually interview the developers of Orca Slicer so we can talk to them about their product and why they chose to do it the way that they did it. So Sparlex says the cat is used to Grant rants. Yeah. 5HFR says, yep, Bamboo is a pain in the arse to work on compared to the others. Yep, it's true. All right, suppliers. 67% of their suppliers address social and environmental conditions above and beyond current legislation, not only in their own production, but also in their supply chain. Remember, sustainability is not just about what occurs in your company. It is about also what occurs outside of your company and then outside of that company and that company and that company. From where the material is first produced to where the material is finally used, sustainability encompasses it all. And again, if Prusa were the only ones that gave a shit and their suppliers didn't, this entire exercise is for nothing. Because you're not changing enough to make it valuable. And the fact that they've made this many changes in 1 year alone shows that they are committing to a better, greener, and potentially more orange future. Although not the type of orange that is going on up north. We had a comment saying that my joke about a more orange future and then us turning the video really warm in the color temperature was a little insensitive. And in my personal defense of that, it was all it's a person that we like here. They're good people, and I think that they meant it kind of offhanded. In my defense, we filmed that video before those fires were ever a big problem, so we didn't know, and you can't go back and edit videos when they're live like that. It doesn't work very well. So they're also evaluating what parts of their production can be transferred directly to our factory in Prague. In recent years, they've started to manufacture some parts that they had to import earlier. As a result, they have direct control over working conditions as well as production quality and delivery flexibility. This is the technical definition of what is called vertical integration. If you can control everything from when the materials are taken out of the ground to when they are ending up in the door of the customer, that is the full control of the process. Not only do you get to then set better quality standards, right? So if you're producing PCBs in-house, you can set better standards for measuring the boards and making sure that they're all good. But when it comes to doing injection molds, you can make sure that the tooling as it wears out is replaced more often so that your standard is met constantly. Vertical integration is one of the ways that companies will grow fast. You look at companies, and I'm going to pick out the one because they're the easiest one to pick on, Walmart. They are fully vertically integrated. They own every part of the process. Oil and gas companies are very similar. They even own the trucks that are on the road. They own the mines where the oil is extracted from the ground. They own the derricks. They own everything in the process. And because of that, they control the price because there is nobody else to pay along the way. Now, in some cases, that results in capitalism, and we're going to raise our rates because F you, that's why. But in other cases, it results in process automation and being more responsible. Prusa has chose the latter and not the former, which is my preference, if that wasn't immediately obvious already. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Okay. And then we get to our appendix, which, ooh, fancy stickers. I want these as stickers. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work, economic growth, industry innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnering for the goals. Those are their sustainable development goals. I just want to print that out because I think that's just good life advice right there. It's just good life advice right there. If you are not looking at all of these things, it's okay. Because one person can't do all of this. We are not all Vladimir, okay? Vladimir, that guy's a freaking genius with this stuff. But we all can't do all of this. But I think it is our duty as humans on this world to do our best to try to get as many of these as possible, especially when it comes to life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, gender equality, clean water, decent work and economic growth. That one's a little bit harder as an individual. Reducing inequalities is great, right? Good health and well-being, zero hunger, no poverty. These are all things that we can work on as individuals. Some of these, you have to have larger companies to be able to have impact. But I think if we look at all of these factors as we look at who we want to do business with and why, we end up doing better as people. This is really just the rest of the appendix, and, you know, if you guys want to look into it, you're welcome to. But I think reasonably, this has been a great experience in understanding sustainability, what it looks like for Prusa Research, talking to the man that wrote this, okay? One, so cool. And honestly, the coolest baby onesie ever. And I hope they make that official merch because that is hilarious. I just really want to see us as an industry do better. We can, we will, but it takes all of us working together to get there. I would love to know your thoughts in those comments. If you want to email me, it's youtube@3dmusketeers.com. I will put a link to Vladimir's LinkedIn in the description since I don't think I had done that. So let me do that real quick. I'm going to add it in to the show notes right now. There you go. His LinkedIn is now in the show notes, so you guys can have access to it. But I think that this was it was a really great exercise, and I thank you guys for joining along in this. I know this one is a little bit different from what we normally do, but I thought that it was incredibly important that we discuss this stuff in a meaningful way, not just in a 15-minute video, but in an over 2-hour stream. Hope you all enjoyed it. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. Be kind to each other. Give a damn about others. Think before you act. Take care, guys.